So 2018 didn't exactly go as planned. It's been a bit of a rough year, and let me demonstrate how rough of a year it's been. Okay, so in 2017, I played 18 events. I won a B tier and 2 C tiers, and I cashed for over $2,000. In 2018, I played 14 events. My best finish was 6th out of 7, and I had to DNF my first event, and I cashed for $0. So, yeah, to say I didn't play very well is kind of an understatement. Let's look at the UDisc stats for 2018. I played three events that kept UDisc stats: Jonesboro, Glass Blown Open, and Ledgestone. And driving, I was 69% at hitting the fairway, so that was inside the circle on a par 3 or in the fairway on a par 4. And my putting percent inside the circle was 86. It's not very good. Neither of those stats are at all where I would want them to be. But anyway, let's look at why. The first reason I think why is that my putting practice routine, I've been going at putting sort of all wrong. I've been thinking this whole time that there is a form to putting. There is a correct way to putt. That's why people have putting clinics, you know? That's why you go and you change things and you try all these different things. That's not how putting works. The more I research the mental game and the more I learn about people putting, no two people putt the same. And so that means that all of the best putters in the world aren't thinking about how they're putting. They're just throwing it at the basket. Just throw it in. And that's the way you need to practice, is just throw it in. You need to throw it in enough that you get really good at just throwing it in. And statistically, you need to make enough putts that statistically you're going to make it. That anytime you miss a putt, that's just an anomaly. So practicing putting is so much more about just making all of the putts. It's not so much about form. It's not, I'm gonna change my grip to this, or I'm gonna try pulling back on a different angle, or I'm gonna try, it's not about that. It's about making the connection between throwing the disc and hitting your chain link. That's all putting is. Think about where you want the disc to be and just put it there. Anytime you're on the course, anytime you have pressure, you need to think, I've made this putt so many times in practice, there's not a chance that I'm gonna miss. That's the level of confidence that it takes to be a really fantastic putter. And so I'm not even gonna think about how I putt anymore. I've always been worried about, oh, what do I look like while I putt? Or how do I make sure that I'm doing everything correctly? I'm just going to throw it, and I'm going to practice enough to where I'm going to make it. And that's worked out pretty well so far. I haven't been a stellar putter, but I really haven't been missing as many due to forgetting to spring my fingers correctly or follow through correctly or something like that. And it's a lot less frustrating. So that's sort of the second reason why I've been playing so badly this year. The main reason, I think, is that I haven't been practicing driving as much. In 2017, I was working at a restaurant and I didn't have time to play around because I would work the morning shift, I would have a couple hours break, and I would work the dinner shift. And so I could go to the field that was nearby, that was like 10 minutes away, and I could throw all my whole bag down and throw my whole bag back and then pack up and make it back to work on time. But when I got here, I thought, man, I'm gonna show these Emporians how good I am. I'm gonna play some fantastic disc golf on these amazing courses, and so I just played the course. And I kept score. I used UDisc to track every round that I played. And what happens when you keep score is you find out what score you're gonna shoot. That's it. You find out what score you shot on that round, on that day. Doesn't tell you what you're capable of, doesn't say what you're gonna do next time you come out. It just tells you what score you shot. Great, that's a number. Do with it what you will. What I need to do when I practice is to work on something. And this goes back to field work. I had an outline here, but I've completely blown off it by now. I'm pretty good on it. I'm all right. All right, so I haven't been doing field work. Field work, well, I've been throwing discs in a field, but I haven't been filming myself and trying to improve. And that is so important because what you think you're doing is not at all what you're doing. I can all but guarantee this. If you took a video of your drive, of you throwing, you could say, boy, I didn't think I was doing that at all. So what I did is I went to the field and I filmed myself at the beginning and I filmed myself at the end, and I'm gonna give you a comparison. So when I threw it at the beginning, I had thrown a couple of warm-ups, but I just smashed this. This is a Maverick. I just threw this about as hard as I could, not quite as hard as I could. And this is what I noticed when I immediately looked at the film. I noticed that my reach back was high. It was in line with my shoulders. It's supposed to be a little bit below that. Around chest height is ideal. This chair keeps turning. I noticed my back foot was open. It was pointed a little bit farther away from the target than I would like. It's okay because I'm still pushing off it correctly. I'm still able to get a good brace, but I would like it to be just a little bit more sideways so I can be a little bit more balanced. I noticed I'm taking way too big of a step. My feet are way too far apart. I don't know how I expect to be able to rotate my hips with my feet that wide apart. If you just stand with your feet that far apart, you're not going to be able to rotate your hips properly. And then also I noticed, this was the biggest thing I wanted to work on, was my head is turned back. My head is looking at my left shoulder. And that's because in all the sports that I've played, which is not many, but I've learned that you need to keep your head down. When you're hitting a baseball, you can't look where the baseball is going to go. You have to look at the baseball. Or on a golf swing, you can't look where the ball is going to go. You have to look at the ball. I think that's just universal across all hand-eye things, is you have to have the eye part. You can't just have the hand part. Hope that makes sense. And so what I was doing in my head is I wasn't looking forward while I was throwing, which I sure wasn't. But it's really hard to look forward if your head's not pointed forward at the reach back. So you definitely don't want to look forward while you're reaching back, but from that point on, you want to have your eye on the disc. If you look at this picture, this is of James Proctor with some things that he is doing correctly, which is pretty much everything in his form highlighted. And this was originally made by somebody, and then Seabass22 helped with a little bit of extra things to add. And one of the things is that he's looking at his disc. When the disc is in the power pocket, you want to be able to read the stamp. You want, well, maybe not read the stamp, but you want to look down at it. And that's not what I was doing. My head was turned back. And so I spent a whole fieldwork session. This is about an hour of throwing back and forth, trying to look at the disc when it's in the power pocket. And I could see it with my right eye, but it's really hard to see it with my left eye, because that actually requires turning my head. I can just look at it with my right eye. So this is after the fieldwork session. This feels like I'm throwing pretty much left-handed. This feels like I'm doing everything completely differently. And it looks pretty much the same. My step is a little bit smaller, reach back is a little bit lower, and my head is turned a little bit farther forward. But I'm not doing much different. And this is why I need to film myself a lot more often. This is why you need to film yourself a lot more often. Because what you think you're doing is not what you're actually doing. So, it's pretty cold outside right now. I can't really go do field work, but as soon as it's warm enough, as soon as this stinking snow dries up, I'm gonna be out in the field. I'm gonna have my phone on a tripod so that I can freaking turn my head forward when I'm throwing. I can take a smaller step and I can keep that back foot sideways. I would suggest you do the same, but not my issues. Do it with your own issues. Thanks for watching, guys. And always remember, slow is smooth, smooth is far.